of 7 people that was tapped by OpenAI's Sora to take it to another level, which I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he's got a surprise for you today, which is going to be incredibly thought-provoking. And I'll leave it at that. Please welcome Nick Kleverov.
All right. I'm with Native Foreign AI Labs, and we are a creative agency production company. We work with a lot of in-house brands and agencies and other agencies. We kind of come from the entertainment space. We do a lot of main title sequences. We often get called in to do, bigger campaigns and things like that for our brand and agency partners. So we've been in the very traditional, I guess you'd say, creative space for a while. And so delving into AI has been a pretty interesting, kind of thing that we've had the opportunity to do. And I want to share with you how we've been doing it in hopes that it might inspire you in the ways that you think about it a little bit and the ways that you integrate it into your own, workflows, pipelines, and all that kind of stuff. So I want to start with some facts from a UTA AI study done by their UTA IQ. And I was just in Cannes Lions this last week and got a chance to chat with a lot of the UTA folks. And they've put together some really, really impressive, research around this. And want to just kind of share this with you because I thought it was super insightful and what I've also been seeing just in the process of my journey in creative. So 3 in 4 creatives think that AI will elevate content, which is pretty high. And I know all of you have creative teams that you work with and have to talk to. And, I think that I hear a lot of people being scared a little bit about AI tools, especially creatives. And so what I like to do is talk to them about the process. I find that when people are scared about it, they actually haven't really used them. And so I encourage you, and I'd love to get thoughts from you all about how you're using AI and how you're letting your teams use AI, because I think the more that people do use them, the less scared they become. There is a bit of a PR problem more than a tech problem. There's a lot of people using AI right now, right? There's filmmakers using AI, and I think it's a very touchy subject right now where a lot of people don't feel comfortable to admit that they are using it, right? Here are some quotes. AI is an incredibly powerful discoverability engine. It enables people to take ideas and explore them across infinite style directions. And then I like this one. Just as instruments allow you to play the same notes in new ways, AI provides infinite ways to explore the same notes. And so I think that is a really interesting way at looking at it. It is depending on the humans. It's all about the human doing the human thing, but using AI as a tool. AI is dramatically lowering barriers. While a lot of people will hop in to create content because of it, there will be skilled people able to take their art to the next level. And by giving everyone access to AI tools that will allow individuals to make films, music, animation, and more, we'll open up these mediums to whole populations of people who would otherwise never have the possibility of telling their story. So we do hear a lot about that democratization of art and, getting these tools in the hands of people that would not have the opportunity to tell stories, and now they would be able to. So on the expected impact of AI, 69% believe AI will be the most impactful technology in their lifetime. 75% of entertainment creatives think AI will have more of an impact on their industry than most. And 80% of marketing creatives think AI will have more of an impact on their industry. So in the world of filmmaking, impossible is a very temporary term. My buddy Paul said that, and it's true. We are going to start seeing every imaginable story being told. According to a McKinsey study among developers who have used Gen AI, here's what the following have said. 94% said I was in a flow state. 88% said I felt happy. 87% said I was able to focus on satisfying and meaningful work. And I don't know how many of you are using Gen AI tools or AI tools, either for business or recreationally. I will say as someone that started out as a creative director, become definitely a bit more of a business person as time has gone on. When I sit down with these tools, I feel a childlike creativity and energy that I do feel like I'm in a flow state when I'm creating with these things sometimes, because it's it's just a whole new way of doing things, which is super exciting. So the frequency of creating AI for work, 12% are saying constantly. We're getting all the time, often, occasionally, but there's a shocking amount that are not using AI tools, which is pretty interesting. And I think when I see things online, very like anti-AI stuff, I do think it's a lot of those people that feel threatened that, these tools are going to disrupt, their entire livelihood, when in reality, that's probably not the case. At a certain point, we probably could have said, you know what, boat travel is fine. It takes 2 months to get across the Atlantic Ocean. And all right, well, that's what we're going to do. So the way I look at these things, it's a natural progression. Technology keeps moving forward. It is a tool. It is not something to be that afraid of. Marketing, entertainment creatives who aren't using AI at work at all, or only rarely, say it's because, and here, very true or a little true, I can do everything I need for my job without AI. That's what most of them say, right? And that might be true, but who is it? Henry Ford said, if I would have asked people what they needed, it was faster horses, right? So it's like if you don't know what you need, you're probably like, I'm fine. I worry about the impact of AI in human jobs and skills. I want to first see how others in my industry are using AI, so maybe not wanting to be first to bat, so to speak. I don't know what tools to use or how to use them, so that's a little bit of an education thing, okay. I don't see the point of using AI for my work, or AI isn't relevant to me. I would argue we've been using AI for 20 years. The clone stamp tool in Photoshop is technically AI, so everyone's been using AI to some degree or not, whether or not they know. One thing that I do think is kind of promising and interesting is that among creatives using AI at work, 88% find tasks easier with the use of AI, 83% are acting on new ideas thanks to AI. I'm definitely within that bucket there. And 75% are creating higher quality work by using AI. Again, the ability to tell stories that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do is what's really, really exciting about AI to me. And marketing, entertainment creatives using AI are leveraging the tech to generate ideas or inspiration. That's kind of the most common one. I think that's very low-hanging fruit. It makes a lot of sense. Enhance images, video, or audio, improve productivity, experiment with new styles, techniques, write stories, create mock-ups or renders. I'm actually surprised that one's so low because at our agency, that's mostly what we use it for. Analyze content campaign performance, and then tag content. So ultimately, it's really back down to the human, right? AI is machine learning, so it's whatever you've input into it, it's going to work off of that, and new ideas need to come from somewhere else. So I think creativity is most exciting when randomness triggers an idea. AI can't deliver on randomness. The magic only happens when individuals bring their humanity to the process. So let's talk a little bit about the future of creativity and how these AI tools are kind of influencing it. Obviously, there's a myriad of them, and I'm sure you all are using them to some degree of these within your business. Taking a step back to the stone ages of 2022, in the late spring, OpenAI introduced DALL-E, which was a private beta, which now looking at these images, you can kind of see how far we've come, but also I remember getting invited to first test out DALL-E. It was such an incredible experience because you're like, how many hours have we spent as creatives or creative directors like looking for the right images, trying to put together that presentation, get your idea through, and then all of a sudden it was like, yep, anything you imagine you can kind of put out. Fun fact, it's called DALL-E because the engineers are fans of Salvador Dali and WALL-E, the film. So our first prompt was a red furry monster looks in wonder at a burning candle. That's what we were able to get. And, again, to the point of ideation, a lot of the tools have always been in the execution phase of work, right? So it's in that 3D, it's in that previs and kind of rendering and then finished product. There have not been a lot of software and tools in the ideation phase. Like you used to have to draw, have the idea, draw the picture, then start sketching it, refining it before bringing it into a 3D image. So really the power here is you're able to iterate in near finished level work. And I think that's really the exciting thing, for creative teams. That's what the AI tools do. That's what they are allowing us to do, is bring ideas to life much, much quicker. For us, it's given us all sorts of opportunities. If you ask me if we would ever do a Vogue cover and 20-page spread, a few years ago, I'd be like, probably not a chance in hell. But, because of AI tools, and Bella was photographed by Carlin Jacobs, who did the famous Beyonce cover and everything, but everything else is AI. And, opportunities like that are just so fun to explore creativity and take them to new levels. Based off of our experimentation with DALL-E, we had kind of come up with this world of critters and, really kind of developed this world that we ended up pitching to Open. And we said, what if we could actually bring these critters to life? Would you guys be open to that? And what we pitched was a David Attenborough's Planet Earth colliding into a Monty Python sketch. So you go through this beautiful world of all these critters, you kind of showcase the tech a little bit, but then all the critters that the narrator's talking about, they're like, what, you've got it all wrong, and actually here's what we're about. So I think it was different in the sense that a lot of the AI stuff that was coming out was very techy, very like I can change my clothes I'm wearing and things like that. And we wanted to really focus in on story. And what is a simple, easy, relatable story that feels human and doesn't feel like it's trying to be something that it's not. So we created the first AI film generated using DALL-E. Went to a bunch of festivals and things like that. We got a good amount of press from it. I'm not going to make you watch this, but this was kind of part of the process of how we created this thing. So
that was nearly 1 year ago today. The first day I was granted access.
It was a lot of in-painting, out-painting, meaning, people think AI, they think that, you press a button and it's done, but in reality, we're changing the eyes, we're changing the face, we're doing all sorts of, very, very detailed work to try to bring like a customization to it and really, kind of put it together. So critters.tv, critters with a Z, you can kind of check it out, check out the case study and all that. I think the point of this is, ultimately at the end of the day, story is what drives us as humans, right? So I think we resonated with a very simple, unique story that people were able to grasp onto, and brands also started to take notice. We also have started doing a lot of just, thought leadership around this. What was the process creating critters? The AI elements are the conceptuals of the environments, the character designs, and what do we think the future is going to look like with creative teams? So, our predictions are story scripts gets augmented with AI. The storyboards become just AI. The animation is humans, but with some AI. Ultimately, all of this is meant to increase productivity, let humans do more human things, spend time doing things we like doing, and less time like rotoscoping and doing kind of banal tasks that are redundant. And that's kind of, again, what's super exciting about integrating AI into your pipeline and into your creative teams. So, we also created this piece for the DALL-E 3 product launch announce vid. We basically told the story of this product launch through the lens of a parent. And when ChatGPT said, hey, we're going to put images into chat now, we thought about it from, okay, how would a parent, think about this? And is there sound on this one? Maybe not. So going through the prompting of basically, hey, what is this hedgehog that my kid dreamed up look like? And the process of getting to see it kind of come to life. Turn it into a children's book just for your kid. Turn it into stickers and things like that. I think, again, just leans into the creative human side of things. So anyway, I think when we do AI, thank you. I think when we do AI stuff, we just really always lean into that human creativity. I'm going to talk a little bit about Sora. How many of you are familiar with what Sora is? Yeah, okay, cool. So Sora was Open's text to video announcement, was announced in February of this year. It is, the latest in text to video simulation. very realistic, kind of lifelike things, and really kind of broke the internet a little bit when it came out with how impressive, these demos are. People couldn't believe that there was no, upload imagery or anything like that. It's all created with just text prompts, which is pretty exciting. And, a variety of styles from lifelike to animated and, everything in between, everything you can basically imagine. So pretty exciting world. This one was pretty famous too, the puppies, which, if you look at the physics of the snow and everything, I mean, it's pretty out of control. Pretty wild stuff. Pretty cute stuff too. So in March, they announced several artists that were using Sora, and I had the opportunity to be one of them. Some really great filmmakers. My approach was definitely more from the brand space. Being a brand guy, an ad guy, I wanted to think about how these tools could be used in our business and in our work kind of moving forward. Like, what percentage of spots could be done with AI? Can we integrate them seamlessly into, client brand partner work? And that was why my demo definitely has little bits of that. It does have some kind of creative elements and, kind of things. This is like a film noir I was concepting and visualizing. Again, just getting to ideate on all sorts of ideas. This is a little preview of a project that I ended up coming to fruition. But here's the brand stuff. Here's a car, but it's not just a car, it's a floating car. Here's a shoe, I like shoes. Some people dancing. Here's some soda, a salt soda. Really just kind of getting to get a sense of what could this stuff be? How could it be used? This, for instance, is an idea that I had forever. I wanted to make a documentary that was going to be a brand film, basically about watchmakers and time. But then, as they open up the watches, a time-space continuum opens up and it gets all crazy. But I've been looking for this exact kind of watchman shop. I scouted LA, I scouted New York, I scouted Tokyo. I couldn't find this thing anywhere. So one of the first things I did with Gen AI was I just put it on the screen and brought it to life fairly quickly. So again, like that ability to bring ideas to life is one of the very, very cool things about these tools. And I think there's variance in what you're able to kind of control. Sure, there is, you hear like the slot machine of it all. It takes me back a little bit to my days as a documentary filmmaker, because you have to kind of move with the machine, you have to kind of ideate, you have to see what it's willing to do and kind of live in that for a little bit, which is really fun, because you kind of are working with a new partner, a new collaborator. In a lot of ways, it's the most interesting thing. And when you're doing a doc, some of you may know, 95% of what you capture ends up on the cutting room floor. In the same way as using some of these AI tools, I mean, that's okay. You could be trying to tell a certain story, looking for certain shots. Halfway through, after you're 100 generations into trying to break a shot and figure it out, it'll create something that you never thought it would, and then you go, oh my God, like that's actually amazing. How do I now, okay, let me actually now integrate that shot because it's so good into my story. And that's really fun. Like, it's changing the production pipeline of what it is like to create, where in the world right now, we shoot the boards, right? Like, agency, we make boards, or we partner with an agency, makes the boards. What's the campaign strategy? Okay, we're doing an animatic. I mean, everything is so prescriptive. This is bringing an element of intrigue and kind of serendipity and just, uniqueness to the product and to the space that's genuinely exciting as a creative. Obviously, all this Sora stuff has been quite fascinating and, helps with all the press stuff. A couple other films that were really fantastic, friends of mine now because of this Sora Alpha artist community, but Airhead by the Shy Kids and Paul's demo was really fantastic, and I'd encourage you to just check it out and see how, the crazy thing is, it's really interesting to see how artists using the same tool can produce such wildly different results. And that's, again, back to one of the quotes that was put out earlier, it's like the same 10 people can sit down with the same tool and they're all going to get different stuff. And that's really, really exciting because it goes against the point like, oh, it's a one-stop shop, it's AI, it's blah, but you can see how people bring their artistry to it still, which is so fun. So the very recent cool thing that I got a chance to work on, we found a brand partner that was willing to take a chance, and that partner is Toys R Us, which was, as a millennial growing up, going to Toys R Us, it was very, very nostalgic in many ways to be able to collab with this brand. Met them through a community that I'm part of, a lot of brand storytellers. And, once I was working with Sora, I was like, someone's going to make a Sora brand film, so why can't it be me? And, kind of trying to find the right story for using AI, right? What are the applications around that? Let's think about maybe a story that is so big or ambitious that it won't be greenlit in a traditional sense. We only get so many, 7-figure kind of spots throughout a year, right? Each brand is only going to put so many things like that out. In a sense, I think these tools are going to open up more stories to be greenlit, more brand storytelling, more initiatives. And so for the first Sora brand film, we were really lucky to find a great partner that wanted to try this out with us. So I'm going to play it for you, and it's short, but take a look. And this was all created with Sora, and then we'll talk about it.
Did you ever wonder how Toys R Us and Jeffrey the Giraffe came to be? And the dream continues on with a Toys R Us at every Macy's.
So, that's pretty cool that we were able to create that in 3 weeks for far, far less budget and resources than we would have been able to. I think there is the argument that I hear like, well, you took away the jobs of shooting that piece. However, again, I don't think this piece would have been greenlit. So in a sense, and there's always a little bit, there's post in that, right? There's cleanup VFX and things. But in my world also, like every frame that I shoot in a real commercial has VFX on every single shot now. So it's like, what's the difference? So cleanup VFX and things like that within that piece is still, it's going to, in a sense, greenlight more jobs. Some of the jobs will change. And, I think we'll always be doing production to some degree, but we are going to change our workflow. We're going to be doing a lot more stories powered by AI, which is going to be very fun. Anyway, this literally just came out yesterday. We premiered it on Friday in Cannes at this little black book event, which was really fun. Got a chance to talk about it and kind of show it to a room like yourselves of kind of industry experts and leaders. So, again, I think it's very cool when you find a cool partner that is willing to take a chance with you on some storytelling. And this is, I think, the first of many. We're going to be exploring this type of work with a lot of our brand and agency partners because it is the future. I mean, there are learnings, there are things about it that are imperfect. And I see that as a filmmaker as well. But I think the general promise of what's to come is pretty exciting. So to kind of wrap it up, the 3 things I have learned while using Sora. 1, there is no magic button. Everything takes a lot of work. Sometimes you crack a shot instantly. You're like, oh my God, that's perfect. That's amazing. And then other times you're just like going and going and going and trying to make it work. Number 2, you need creatives. Perhaps more than ever, honestly. We ended up using more creatives on the post side than we typically do on a project. And we let them all explore their creativity and work on shots and do all sorts of stuff they don't normally get a chance to do. So everybody had a lot of fun creating that spot. And 3, I think true storytellers will win. When everybody has access to the same tools several years from now, which is what will happen, how do you differentiate yourself? And I think it's going to be in the craft and the power of the story, telling real, human, relatable stories that people can really grasp onto. So thank you. Really appreciate you guys. Happy to take any questions now, or you can find me hanging out by the coffee bar and we can chat some more. But
So in the Toys R Us film, did you literally do that shot by shot and then bring them all together to get that length?
That's right. So the idea came from Toys R Us Studios, right? They wanted to tell the origin story of Toys R Us and Jeffrey the Giraffe, and how a young Charles Lazarus in his dad's bike shop kind of fell asleep, and this all came to him. By the way, funny thing I learned, well, I didn't realize, is that his name is Lazarus, and that's where Toys R Us came from, which is really cool. Yes, they had the general story idea, and then we basically, instead of storyboarding it, we just started making it. And so we started making shots and then refining, kind of finding what was working, what wasn't working. A good friend of mine, Aaron Marsh, from this notable rock band Copeland, I instantly was like, you're the guy, you have to make the song. Back to your point about the music, I was like, the music's gotta be, top notch with that heart and emotion to it. So like that poignant rendition of the classic theme, I think was important. That came fairly early on. And then it was just a process of getting our structure in. We knew we wanted it to be a 60. So getting the structure in and starting to build out the shots. The toughest part was the character consistency. And even if you were to screen grab them now, and actually I think someone on Twitter already has, this is not the same kid in each shot. And yeah, I'll give you that. It's close though. I mean, AI does well when you're very specific and with the genre and time, right? So mid-century Americana, something interesting about, a boy with round, thin metal glasses and a red and white checkered shirt with blue overall, so you're like really dialing in the specifics. And so then it's trying to grasp onto something. And a lot of it is trial and error. You start making things, you're like, oh, this is the perfect blocking, this is the perfect acting, but the kid looks different. So then you're trying to type in more things like, let's really dial in what this kid looks like. Everything was text, so like how precise can you get with text? I think there's a little give as these tools progress and you're doing image upload, you're doing video upload, you're doing 3D CAD upload. I'm Prada, I'm uploading my new 25 spring summer bag, and then I'm like, put the bag in a purple room, whatever, you're gonna be able to really dial it in. But right now where we are in the time and space, yeah, it's text. So did I answer your question? Yeah, okay, thanks.
So this video was kind of somewhere between like real life and 3D animation, especially with the idea of the graphic side, obviously, but I'm sure you're familiar with the term uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And what I'm wondering is, I'm assuming the AI is gonna producing like really real life looking videos or movies in the future, maybe completely like that. Do you think it's gonna be able to, what's the term? Come through with the, sorry, I couldn't find the exact word I'm looking for. Get over the uncanny valley effect? Is it gonna be needed?
Yeah, I think it will. But then it brings in the whole other question of like deep fakes, what's real, what's not real. Right now, I feel like I can look at any AI thing and be like, oh, that's awesome. I get it. And I suspend my disbelief. Like, cool. I'm in for the ride. I know it's I don't care. I'm about the story. I do think we will get to that point. But then, I hear figures thrown around, and I don't know who said this, but something like in 10 years, 90% of everything, all images and photo will be AI, right? So if that's the case, 90% of everything is AI, what's real? Then are we creating a new camera that shoots with time and stamp and location geotag that as it shoots is somehow uploaded to the blockchain so it can be verified on some, what is the official, hey, this actually happened, this is a real thing. So it's interesting. I think it will get over it. I think these are early days. This is the worst it's ever gonna look, Yes, go ahead.
I'm just curious, production-wise, you mentioned mundane tasks like rotoscoping. So with the AI stuff, like you said, it's just you and the text and whatever it gives you, which can be sometimes you get it, sometimes it's incredibly frustrating. So how much are all of these shots straight out of straight from the AI, or are you doing some kind of montaging to fix things?
The base of every shot, so the blocking, the main actions, everything is all AI. I would say it got us about 80, 85% of the way there. Then we're tweaking things like, that toy is weird. Let's take that toy out and put a different floating toy. Consistency with the giraffe, right? Because we were trying to get it close, but it wasn't. So then we were like, okay, let's make sure it's adherent to their brand giraffe. So things like that was like, it's pretty much and I'm gonna work on, we just finished this thing. So I am gonna have a kind of like a side-by-side and breakdown of what the exact process was and how much. But yeah, you're getting most of the way there.
And like you said, this is the worst it's ever going to be.
Exactly.
I'm curious how long the rendering takes on that. Knowing that a Dolly image takes 10 seconds or so, how long does a video clip take?
So we're in this, alpha artist group. I don't know exactly the specifics of like how many GPUs are we getting. It also just varies. Middle of the day, it's a little slower. If I'm up at night doing stuff, it'll be quicker. I don't think they've like officially announced like, hey, this is how long it takes yet, but it's not long. I mean, we're talking minutes to maybe up to an hour, like in the most kind of time intensive. So yeah, you're able to, and then you could do shorter clips or slightly longer. So what I usually do for when I'm trying to break an idea first is I go slightly lower res, slightly shorter image length, try to hash out, what the prompts look like. And then once I feel like I'm getting in a good spot, I'll start expanding it out and, getting longer pieces. You had a question for a minute, yes.
So I've been trying to work on rate card, and our creative team, you go into this thinking that it's going to be more efficient, less hours going into projects. Every project in the last 12 months, we've probably put more hours in trying to get 4 figures instead of 6 colour scheme here. And I'm wondering, I love your table here, have you taken that into a rate card commercial, and when you're looking at these projects, is it cheaper? I'm starting to think it's more expensive to go down the airline route, and clients should definitely control that.
Yeah, I think that is one thing that we're kind of trying to figure out is there's this association with AI for sure that it's quicker and cheaper, but yeah, I mean, there's new things that we're learning as we work on something. We're like, oh, that didn't turn out the way we thought it would. And then you're trying to kind of scramble to fix it. Sometimes it's an easy fix, sometimes it's not. Also, we're in a unique position where our comp is covered because kind of what I'm doing is helping the team learn. So then when that's not covered, what does that cost baked into the, the way we're approaching right now is very, very hourly, traditional kind of agency based of like, here's how many artists work on it, here's our hours, kind of with like a base ballpark range. But yeah, I mean, figuring out the margin, figuring out what that all looks like, it's definitely still something we're sorting out. So I'm happy to keep the conversation going with you because also some clients are willing to pay a lot and they're like, oh my God, this is so cool and I want to do this. And some are like, yeah, but this is supposed to be like $10,000. And you're just like, okay, yeah, this is, any other, yes.
Okay, so you talked about iterating and hashing out the prompts, but you also said that the kid looks a little different in different parts of the film and stuff. If you redo the same prompt, do you consistently get the same output?
No. The same exact prompt entered and you hit that little render button, every single time it will be different to some degree. Sometimes a lot, sometimes not very much at all. I've had a kid come out with 2 heads and you're like, what the hell just happened? Okay, like 1 out of 1,000, like, all right, cool. Yeah, so that is part of the kind of interesting part of adapting that like text to video workflow is like, okay, cool, I know what it needs to be, but being able to flex with the kind of what it outputs is quite interesting. I will also say, like, I am fairly discerning, and I've been staring at this thing. I think the first shot of the kid's not as consistent as the last 3, and there's only 4 shots of the kid where you see his face. I think the last 3 are pretty good, but that first one, like, I liked everything else about it, and just couldn't get the kid looking a little bit more like the other ones, and then eventually I had to be like, you know what, this is the shot. And I think, like, if you suspend your disbelief a little bit, you can just roll with us. But as time goes on, you're going to be able to really dial it in. We're just not there yet.
At dinner last night, you were talking about storytelling, and you brought it up again today. I know at our agency, we're struggling with the proliferation of content and channel, and I see our creatives jumping to that and trying to bring them back to focus on story and branding. How have these tools changed your process around that? Are you still working as a team to think up front about the concept, or is this influencing kind of how you think about building the message?
I think the framework of the story is still being sorted out at the top. And, I think like us all aligning on what the message is, what we want people to feel, what we want to say, with a certain product or piece like this one specifically. It does change the process though, and kind of what I was mentioning, like you get new shots or new ideas or kind of start to go down tangents. In this one, the tangent we went down was this train thing that wasn't originally part of the creative. And then one of the things, like it made a train that the kid was looking at. We're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Why does he look at this train? And then we're thinking about like, how does he go from the bike shop into the dream world? And they were like, maybe there's like this train tunnel vortex thing that goes down. And then that just, it didn't significantly change the overall meaning or messaging of the piece, but it certainly was a new vehicle within the piece that kind of took us from point A to point B, which again was kind of fun to just play around with and explore.
Are you finding yourself having to get new people to work on things? Because I feel like from a creative standpoint, there's a pretty big difference between what you're going to do traditionally or digitally and then this. Because the communication with your new partner is something that might not at all be the thing that your creative very well prepared to do. So I was just curious if you all are running into that, or if it's like, hey, people are usually working on this, now they'll learn this new skill, and then the expectation is that knowing how to use AI should inherently be part of a creative's job, but then that seems tricky. So I was just wondering if you all account for that.
Sure, and I think that's a great question, and everybody has varying levels of excitement or just like natural ability to do prompting and to kind of create shots. We also are still in the situation where like a lot of our clients are like, don't you touch AI with a 10-foot pole, like don't anywhere near it. So there's also lots of other work, so I always give all my creatives opportunity to like, hey, do you want to dive in? Do you want to try this out? Some of them love it. Some of them are like, you know what, I'm not getting it. Then I try to work with them a bit. They're just like, I just don't want to do it. There's other assignments and tasks. I do think it will probably be partly everyone's responsibility in the creative field, or just it would behoove them to kind of understand these tools and get to use them, because I think everyone is going to be asking them to like, hey, AI, right? Like, Stable Diffusion, I need this thing made right now for this presentation or whatever. So to some degree, I think it is necessary. But obviously there's gonna be people that are specialists, and I think we're gonna see even like more specific specialties of jobs within AI. Like I'm really good at prompting for video, or like I'm really good at this, or I'm really good at that. I think we're gonna see new kind of skill sets come to life.
Yeah, because like people can be good at prompting, but maybe not actually anything else.
Sure.
Like
sure.
Something else, I'm sure, but it's not industry specific. It's not whatever else. I mean, you find that issue with people that are working in the tech stack where you don't have that background, conceptual knowledge for what makes sense in terms of advertising and marketing, of course, where you can build something out in SQL and Python and stuff, no problem, but there's that context is not. So,
yeah.
I wonder how that will be received as far as in issues.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's ongoing. It's an interesting question.
You mentioned that sometimes AI generates something unexpected.
Yeah.
As a creative, folding that into the final pieces, really something wonderful. And it made me think about your train tunnel example. This transition, right? Often these transitions are difficult to think about it as kind of some abstract thing. And I think that AI does a great job at this kind of abstract, almost magical environments that might otherwise be difficult, very time consuming to create. create for a human. And how do you think that this change will affect the content itself? You know, when we come up with a storyboard, you know, there's some logic to it, or there's some, structure to it, and that, of course, is important. But maybe we might shy away from, oh, that scene, we've done some animations, right? One time we had a door handle turning. We're like, we're not going to animate a hand going like this. That's going to be insanely difficult. So you change the visual.
Sure.
How do you think the AI is going to, this is a basic example, but what about, 5 years, 10 years? How is this freedom going to push the content?
We're going to see a lot more content. That's also maybe a positive and a negative. Like, we are going to get flooded with so much content because everyone's going to be able to make it. Then you're just like, the role, I think, of curators becomes even more important, like DJs for, AI films. Like, hey, here's the cool ones to watch. And, because the process of being able to kind of adapt, and what you mentioned with, changing the idea or approach to a shot because it's just an unreasonable amount of resources. That is where the AI tools are actually amazing, because that would be fairly quick. And I think that the initial place we're going to see them, other than advertising and commercials, is we're going to see it in films. We're going to see it as B-roll or some big effect shot, a futuristic airport. There's all sorts of things that you can kind of take a little bit of a shortcut to. But I think it's going to be mostly used in tandem with IRL stuff. I think you're going to have that establishing shot, and then you're going to cut into your close-ups, and then you're going to do this. There will be. Sure, look, we made one, right? And there will be many others, but I think the real magic will be like in those things where it's a part of the process, it's a tool within the greater scope of the story. Okay, I'm around if you have any more questions. Happy to continue the chat. Thank you very much.